All good.
Okay.
Sorry, Charles.
It's almost like when she's sitting next to me.
Did you get them? You want to make copies and pass them around? Or do you want to wait? Why don't we wait?
I call the meeting October 1st to order. Our fighting Seaview, Mr. McGee, has pledged.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Fun. Roll call.
Mr. Kuzic.
Present.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Present.
Oh.
Mr. Giovanni.
Present.
Mr. Heckman.
Present.
Mr. Lott.
Here.
Mr. McGee.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Fargo Hefner.
Here.
Ms. Zirinsky. Here.
Thank
All
you.
present.
Okay, approval of the minutes, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Did you get any?
Second.
All right,
Trying to get out of here.
Wasn't it Bill and
yeah,
Perry?
Oh,
whatever word.
yeah, they went so.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, we're gonna have courtesy of the floor. I don't know if anyone's here, but if anyone wants to come up, given what's going on, we have hand wipes, or I mean the lotion there, glycerin. We have the sanitizer, the wipes, and also masks, because I'm gonna ask people who come up to the podium to please wear a mask. If you have one you don't feel you can hear or it's uncomfortable, feel free to take a paper mask and just throw it in the trash can. But I am gonna ask if you could please wear a mask if you're coming up to speak. All right, is there anyone for courtesy of the floor? Seeing no one?
No, someone's
Oh, no,
coming.
somebody's here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't,
It's hard to see in that back corner.
way over in the corner there.
Hiding in the corner where I like to hide.
That's okay. If you could just give your name for the
Yes.
clerk.
Stephanie Brown. Good evening to council and to the commissioners, excuse me. Council, no, this isn't Lehigh County. And to the administration. As you know, I grew up on Meadows Road in Lower Saucon Township. And I was at the bridge, the County Bridge 15 on Tuesday, and I'm a little disturbed. Because there's a lot of damage to that bridge, and I believe it's from the tropical storm. So I emailed the township, didn't get anything back, and I also called the county. I didn't get anything back. So I'm here to understand what's going on with the bridge. It seems like you are letting it rot and destroy itself because you want to tear it down.
I'm sorry, could you speak up just a little bit?
I can.
Yeah, you can move the
Is that
mic
better?
up. Yeah.
Sorry
that's all.
about that.
No, I just want to be sure you're heard.
So I'm here to ask what's going on with it because I know that I've attended a few Lower Saucon Township Council meetings. And I believe an email was sent from Lower Saucon to the county asking about the bridge. I believe the response back was, the only problem with it after the tropical storm was a tree blocking the arches, which isn't unusual, not for a bad storm like that. But there's damage there. There is significant damage in 2 areas on the wing walls. And if you guys aren't going to do something about it, it's just going to continue to deteriorate. And I don't know if you know this, but it was just recently put on the National Register of Historic Places. So I'm here to beg you to do better. This bridge means the world to me. And I can't get answers, and it's frustrating me. So, I need some answers. I'm sorry, I'm very stressed. Okay, so I also want to address, I didn't time this, so you'll have to time me. I want to address one other issue while I'm here, since I drove an hour to come here. I see you're going to be discussing evictions. And as somebody who's been homeless for 10 years, it's a pretty sore spot with me. I've been through the county's system in both counties. I see that you have opened up your housing list. But sadly, for somebody like me who's stuck in another county, I practically live almost in Berks County anymore, I can't get back on that list, and I spent almost 40 years of my life. Everything that's important to me is in Lower Saucon Township. Everything that's important to me is in Northampton County. So I can't even get on that list because I don't go to school, work, or I can't remember what the other qualification is for housing. One of the things I know that I went through with Lehigh County is during the pandemic, they decided to kick people off their housing list. And I was one of them, and I wasn't very happy. I really hope that people start doing better with the homeless situation because it's only going to get worse. I see constant gentrification in the valley. I'm out of options at this point. I don't know what else to do. But what has me the most upset is the money that you gave to the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation. And I see that they are running a campaign to bring people into the valley from New York City. And what they do is they say, oh, how cheap it is to live here. It's only half the cost. And I don't think that's right. When people are struggling and there's evictions and we're in a pandemic, why are they doing that? I'm really, really angry about that because I feel like I don't matter. I feel like I don't matter to anyone. For 10 years, I've been floating around trying to get my life back together, and I can't. And the biggest reason is the housing situation. I didn't ask for this. It just happens to be where I am in life. But 10 years is a long time to lose. So I'm asking you to, I know Allentown has a homeless council. Why isn't there a joint county one? Because a lot of homeless people go back and forth between both counties. So I'm really asking you, in the midst of this pandemic, and knowing that there are going to be a lot more homeless people, that somebody starts doing better by us. And I really hate to have to, as somebody who graduated from Saucon Valley, I really hate to have to stand here and say, hey, I'm homeless and almost 50. But I am, so that's all I have to say.
Ms. Brown, which county did you say? I know you said you're homeless, but did you say something about Berks or Bucks County?
I'm pretty much almost in Berks County right now.
Have you gone to them, to their have they been able to help you in any way?
Just like anybody else, I'm on a list.
And
Very
we all
long
share
list.
your concern about gentrification. In fact, we talk about that often. It's gentrification of the entire county in Lehigh Valley, much less any city. And it's a major concern, and rents are a major concern, and homelessness is a major concern. And I can only tell you, it doesn't help you today, I guess, but it's something we're all wrestling with, and we all certainly, I know the administration as well as council, is really concerned about that and the increasing cost, particularly of housing. I mean, for even people with homes are struggling with the cost of housing and the associated costs. So I just wanted to ask you what county and if they were helping you.
They are. But like I said, Lehigh County, for whatever reason, decided to kick people off the housing list in the middle of the pandemic. And
I'm
one
sorry.
of the things I can tell you is that not all of Magellan's service agencies were coming out. Some were, some weren't. So if you needed an ICM to help with paperwork, you didn't necessarily get that help.
Well, thank you for your input. I will have
Yep.
to, I'll take that into
I
consideration.
appreciate that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at courtesy of the floor? Seeing no one, we'll move on then with the agenda. County Executive Report.
May I suggest an executive session on a personnel matter?
Yes, all right. What we'll do is, it's 20 of 7. We will, do I have a motion to go into executive? Mr. McGee. All right, we're going in on a personnel matter, executive session.
I've trained
No,
you guys
I know.
well.
Didn't that fit?
detailed book online this year though, because the table of contents is hyperlinked. So like if they say they're gonna look at council, I click council and that detailed page comes up.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
So I can use my tablet
It
more
makes it a little
efficiently.
bit easier. Okay, let's not forget your lodging fare.
I know, I told everyone.
It's like most of the ballot here.
Well, and now they're-
I don't want to. Richie voted?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that I'm counting as unfair voting yet. Oh, no. Oh, did you mail it, drop it off in the ballot box? Well, how'd you get a sticker?
It's in your envelope, you put them in the envelopes.
Oh, see, my county's still behind, so I didn't get my ballot yet.
They haven't sent them.
That
was
really good.
Bill Armstrong said today or maybe tomorrow they would start mailing.
Good for him. Okay,
You know, if you're nice to people in the election direction, they'll give
they just give you a sticker?
If you give them off.
What if I don't, what if I say I live in Union County and I like to wear a sticker to proud? There's a sticker.
We can't afford, taxpayers in Northampton County can't afford. Costs money.
Yeah, we don't give our stickers to them, we have county. She lives in Monroe, I think.
You live in Carbon.
Carbon, I'm sorry, you're here.
Yes, sir, don't talk about it.
I'm the right, like, you're not even here.
Look to the behind the pillar. And she's been here since what, 3? Yeah. We're good after Thursday, after his report.
I just remember, I remember.
Oh,
You are not good.
You drive by that,
We're in it
I'm so sorry, Robin.
you drive by that house, Robin, you drive by that house in Bath all the time, don't you?
Every day, twice a day.
With
See
the,
how Robin delegate? I'm so sorry.
What's
I
that?
delegated. I delegated Robin to be the CNET speaker for DHS and that got her here at 3 and it's landing her here till.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Frank's the only one who escaped. Mark and I live here since
You also have been here since 3. I know. Thank you. Or most of them.
My favorite food. Be back here tomorrow.
Yeah, because we can social distance, they can broadcast to the YouTube. What's that? Yeah. We're gonna turn the podium around and they're gonna have that camera, we can adjust it to zoom in.
You know, I feel bad there's not much sense, like, and I try to hide the protective patch, like,
I do. I also, I did you one better.
I still like mine better.
I know, I still.
Go on. Go on.
Have you seen his parking lot?
Yeah.
With the red sticker?
No, it's not Ren and Stimpy,
It was
it's Statler and
Ren and
Waldorf.
It was red sticky the
No,
other day.
Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
I have Ren and Stimpy. You idiot. Ren and Stimpy, I love Ren and Stimpy. This is my favorite, I'll try wherever I want with the Godzilla, it's great.
Good one.
It's probably gonna be long.
I hope not.
Should we order pizza?
I know, I didn't eat yet, I'm a little
Yeah.
hungry.
I'm
not gonna lie.
Molly has helped for soccer team.
Yeah, my 10,000.
10,000
Dozen.
10,000. I thought you said 10,000 pierogies. I'm like, man, those are some.
That's a lifetime supply of right there.
I don't even have room for 10 dozen, bro.
10,000
That's funny.
I like pierogies, not that much.
How many calories is a pierogi?
I don't know, they're really good though.
I do like pierogi.
Did I tell you what happened
No, I love
at
those.
Five Guys today?
They are so expensive.
They are, but their food is
could you?
No, I couldn't. Well, and here's what he did, because I wanted the jalapeno peppers in there, because that helps, like, when you eat something hot like that, it helps with your appetite like the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So I wanted those jalapeno peppers in there, and if I couldn't, they were in between the bun, like they were in between the patties, and I was like, ah, I'm gonna lose my jalapeno peppers. So, yeah.
So did you eat both patties?
Oh, yeah, I did. But this is, it's terrible. The day I hit 80 pounds, Charles decides, and this will be on the video, Charles decides he wants to go to Quarters, or not Quarters, Two Rivers for lunch. And so, that's right, Duck Fat Fries. So we get the blackened chicken sandwich and duck fat fries. So it's fabulous with garlic aioli. It's so good.
Yum, yum.
So I do that, and then of course I had like chicken tacos, so I was good. I went for a bike ride last night, so I was still even under my calories with all that.
Wow.
But I had to do like an 11-mile bike ride to make sure that I was
You
good.
got it all, yes.
And then today we go to
So what are you gonna do, because it's too dark and you can't fly back?
Are you gonna walk your dog to Fargo County?
No, I'm eating pizza tonight because we got pizza from Late Night Pizza, which is
Oh, I haven't had it.
so good.
It's good pizza.
It is. And now they're on Grubhub, so it's
Nice.
just fabulous.
Have you been? I call it Poser Dice, I don't know what, that brewery over there in SoCal.
No, I haven't.
Those are
Where
great.
in Easton?
Yeah.
Easton, no.
It's right across from our house now.
Yeah.
Beer night, I mean.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. We used
Go
to
there
make,
for lunch.
we used to make floats in my fraternity, like with beer and ice cream. It was really disgusting, but
Did you say you go there for
I
lunch?
said, do you go there for lunch?
No,
Beer.
sir.
on the weekends.
Actually, that's true, I've had lunch there on the weekend. No, because that would not be fun. But living all the way out past like Allentown, I don't always drive.
Right.
The best places are in Easton, I think, and
Yeah,
I just,
I agree.
some days I don't, I'm tired of driving, so. But they're really good. Have you been there? Yeah. Ditto.
Tina, didn't we
Who said
do
that?
that?
What? Somebody say ditto, I'm hearing things.
Did we what? We did
Oh,
Did we did a staff thing at Poser Day.
no.
Yeah. They were like before the day.
We did.
There you go.
I went there like, oh, it feels like forever ago.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I think we were back at the place for Hollywood.
So are you telling Joe?
Yes, knock knock. We just gave it.
Charles, a conversation about our lunch.
Reminded him over.
And the number of calories.
All right, we're gonna call the county council meeting back to order. It's roughly 6:52, and we were in executive session regarding a personnel matter, and no action was taken. All right, Mr. Executive, regular report.
I do, sir. I wasn't going to address this, but with Ms. Brown being here, asking questions about 15, I think it's appropriate.
Would you pass those around?
During the most recent rainstorm, Bridge 15 suffered more damage. More damage. And so, as you know, the Meadows Bridge is on the tip. We have been working very hard to get this bridge replaced. PennDOT it's in the ether, and I'm working very hard to get it moving. So that's where we're at. None of us like the tear down and cul-de-sac idea, I don't think. I don't think any of us like that. I think what we need to do is get that bridge torn down before it falls down, and get it rebuilt in a way that makes it useful for everyone in Lower Saucon Township. So that's that. Exciting news on the election front. At least it's exciting to me because I'm sort of an election guy. We have received 62,561 mail-in ballot applications.
That's crazy.
This week, we have mailed 52,000 ballots. We have recorded 303 early votes. That's people, like I told you I did, went down to demanded their ballot and voted. So the folks in Northampton County are voting already. And look, you've got no excuse to not vote in Northampton County. You can vote by mail. You can show up at your precinct. We have 154 of them. We're going to have 315 XLs deployed on Election Day. So if in-person voting's your thing, go vote in person. But we're asking everybody to wear a mask because we want to protect our poll workers. So if you're going to vote in person, please wear a mask. If you don't want to stand in line on Election Day, come here. The elections office is now open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You have no Monday through Friday. You have no excuse not to vote in this county. We have 4 drop boxes now deployed. They're currently deployed and in use at this moment, covering the 4 county council districts. District 1, there's a drop box in the city of Bethlehem. It's chained to the building. District 2, there's a drop box here in this rotunda. This drop box will be available in this rotunda to all county residents 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. Where is your excuse not to vote, right? I mean, where's your excuse? No excuse. It will be open, the rotunda, and that drop box will be available to you on Saturdays, 8 a.m. to noon. Now, starting Saturday. The election's November 3rd. What's your excuse not to vote? At that same time, that Saturday, 8 a.m. to noon, our elections office will be open as well. So you can go to the counter and vote there, or return your mail-in ballot there. Better go vote. I mean, so you're not a voter if you can't vote in Northampton County now. So that's that. If you'll indulge me for a minute, we have some exciting news. I'd like to give a bit of my time to Director Wondolowski to make an introduction to you with respect to a position that she has filled that I think we're all very excited about because we're all very concerned about this segment of our population in human services. Yes, Mr.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but when you're talking about voting, are you going to emphasize that we need to use both envelopes for those that are doing the mail-in
Yeah,
voting?
no naked
please?
ballots. You got to use your security envelope. Sue, do you want to?
I don't know if that's getting crystal clear to the community.
We're working on it.
I know I've been pushing it with mine.
Thank you for an extra minute of time. As you know, our Director of Veterans Affairs, that position's been vacant now for a little bit since Mr. Ramirez left us. I am very excited to let you know that we have filled that position. The start date is somewhere around October 19th, but I have Alex Carrillo with us tonight, so come on up, Alex. He is currently a CYF employee, so I'm stealing another CYF employee. But he's gonna dip both feet where he needs to. And in fact, he's already started having conversations with Stephanie Young, who's been holding down the fort in the VA office. So we wanted to bring Alex and just give him a chance to say hello. He hasn't started yet, so no hard questions. And that's it. So it's all
We
yours.
gotta wait till next month. Director
We
of
want him to
Veterans
stay
Affairs.
for at least a month or so, Mr. Myers.
I'll tell you.
Thank you, Sue. Hello, County Council members. I'm Alex Carrillo. I'm honored to be here in front of you guys, and also the county executive and our DHS director. I've been with the county for about 11 years now, so I'm very excited with this new opportunity that I have, and I want to provide service to our my fellow veterans within the county.
What branch did you serve?
I served in the Army for about 6.5 years. My first year I went over to Korea for a year, and then I came back and was stationed in Fort Campbell, Kentucky with the 101st Airborne Division.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Go ahead.
Thank you for serving. But since you're standing there approaching, you got two sailors here, we're just gonna tell you, you got no clout. I wish you the best of luck and hope you do the job that needs to be done, because at times when our veterans went out there, they weren't quite respected the way they're supposed to be, as one who approached it. So I wish you the best of luck.
I take pride in the work that I do, and I do want to provide like the best service for our veterans in the county and in our public.
Yeah, you look kind of young, and I thought you probably, you couldn't have been a veteran, and because I know how the vets that come into the office, if there was a non-vet that was running it, they can get a little testy, and over the years. But I mean, I have to say, you look younger than, obviously, I'm not going to ask you what your age is, but
I'll take it.
I mean, you said 6.5 years in the service, 11 years of the county. I was like doing whatever math I can do, and not as good as Mr. Kusick, but I thought, wow. But anyway, congratulations. Are there anything else anybody want to ask or say?
Thank you for your service, and thank you for stepping up for this service. And we will
proud
try
to
not to
serve.
grill you till maybe January.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll serve us well.
Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
So, yeah, he does appear youthful, but he's not as young as he looks. And I can tell you that. And we wouldn't have considered his age anyway when we were hiring him. But what I want to tell you about him is one of the criteria that Sue had while she was looking for someone to run this office was someone who actually served and served overseas. And what he's too humble to tell you is he served this country in Afghanistan and Iraq. So any grumpy old vet, as I'm using your words or paraphrasing your words, Mr. Heckman, will find that this man's been in Afghanistan, and if you've been in Afghanistan and Iraq, you're made of tough stuff. So we're really looking forward to him getting to work. He's got to implement. He's going to have to hit the ground running. He has to implement our program to get our vets hooked up to the internet. So he's going to be really busy. And one of the things we're going to task him with is becoming a true expert in helping our vets navigate the labyrinthine systems that they have to navigate. And I think he's the right measure of experience and energy. I won't say it's youthful because he's not that young anymore, but to help our vets. So I look forward to bringing him back here after he's learned he's found where the bathroom is on that floor and learned a little bit about the job. There's other news. We have, to my significant loss, had Miss Liz Kelly resign this week, and we will miss her very much. She has encyclopedic knowledge of the law of human resources, if you will. She is a lawyer, and I relied on her mightily for these first almost 3 years now, and we'll miss her. But I am equally as sad as I am to lose Liz for this encyclopedic knowledge that she has and her ability to define an issue of law with respect to human resources, I mean, quicker than anyone I've ever known. I have named Kathleen Wedge, who has been the deputy here for nearly 3 years in human resources, as the acting director of human resources. And although Kathleen does not have the same skill set that Liz has, Kathleen has other skills that I think are equally or more valuable in dealing with human resources. Remember, we have 2,200 employees. That's a lot of different personalities with a lot of different issues and all the collective bargains we have with the different various collective bargaining units. So Kathleen, who will be taking over on an acting basis. Acting because I want to watch her act for a little while, but I fully, I fully anticipate to be coming back to you in the near future with a nomination for Kathleen to be Director of Human Services in Northampton County, and I'm really genuinely excited. What? I'm sorry, resource. Yeah, you're fired. Yes. Human Resources. My apologies. Huh? No, we're really, as big a loss as to have Liz go, I'm really excited to see what Kathleen can do. I think she's going to be amazing. And that concludes my report, sir.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, well,
Do you have any news on Louise Moore Park?
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I keep dropping the ball on that. My apologies. Look, here's my view. A previous council cannot bind a future council on that ordinance issue. So just as a preliminary matter, you can take that off the table and pass the ordinance and repeal the old one. And it puts us in a position to begin the process of defending our park. Why would we want our park torn up by a utility who's going to make money from that process of pumping? Who's going to put pipes in there and a pumping station. So I'm prepared to defend the park. Now, I know they've threatened us because they think they've relied on a previous council's action. And I understand their point of view, except it's wrong. And why it's wrong is the previous council, who you do not have to rely upon, did not include the trustee of the park in the process. The trustee of the park was never even given notice that this ordinance was to be considered and reviewed. And because there is a trustee, they must necessarily be a part of any change in the park because the trust is very clear. That park can only be used as a park unless the trustee agrees otherwise. And the trustee was never involved in that process. So that, if we are sued, I mean, everyone threatens to sue, but I'm not afraid to get sued. We have to defend our park, and I think we have many good defenses, and I would just ask you to take that off the table and pass it tonight.
go ahead, Mr.
I'm going to ask, and I'm going to ask, and then I'm going to ask. How are we doing with the voucher program?
The voucher program. So really well, but I think Tina can give you a specific update. And you want the school district, right?
Absolutely. I want to make sure these kids are taken care of.
So we had a little bit of a wrench thrown into our program through no fault of our own. On a call with the state, they told us that we cannot pay for programming into the 2021 calendar year, which is very unfortunate because basically what that means is that we can only pay for Wi-Fi services for these kids up until December 31st of this year. So the school districts are aware of that. They've got alternate methods. They're probably going to invest in hotspots that they give to these families now to take care of them for the next 6 months of the year. I did place a call to Congresswoman Wild's office asking for help because, remind you, this is a federal program that's coming down to the state, that's coming down to us. Apparently, there's a possible deal on the table, but it's, again, political negotiation between the Speaker and the White House. So I'm not overly confident that that's going to pass. But we will hear an update regarding that tomorrow. If it does pass, we will be able to then continue that funding into 2021. So say a prayer tonight.
Yeah. Is that because the money has to be used by December 31st?
Excuse me?
That's because the money has to be used by December 31st.
Well, the money would have been spent, so we would have received billing from the service providers to include that Wi-Fi funding all the way until the conclusion of the academic school year. So that would have covered them till June, but I can no longer pay for services
After.
that occur in 2021 right now.
So unless that changes, the school districts have been informed and they're making alternate plans and working with providers like T-Mobile to have to then purchase these hotspots to give to the families instead. But we're still paying the money forward to the districts. It'll just become then their responsibility to program it.
Good.
And I strongly suggest we contact our representatives, folks.
Yeah, federal office.
Well, don't worry, I will.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, all right, Ms. Hefner and then Mr. Kuzic.
Mr. McClure, back to the Louise Moore Park, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, but have you tried to do any negotiating outside of a courtroom with Easton so that there wouldn't be a lawsuit?
No, they want to meet, but the meeting is, we have this ordinance and we expended this money and we want to move forward. So there's no need to, there's no negotiation. I don't want a pumping station in Louise Moore Park. So what's to negotiate?
You finished? Floor,
Yeah, I'm done, thank you.
Ms. Kuzic.
Yeah, with regard to the drop boxes, are all of them under security camera
Yes.
surveillance? Okay. And then the second question, a couple people have raised this issue with regard to the drop boxes. What assurances do we have against ballot harvesting? Somebody showing up with a stack full and placing them
Well,
in?
you have the cameras. So if some citizen, like any crime, which it would be a crime to do that, and if we see it, we'll refer you for prosecution. We're not messing around. So if some citizen sees another citizen with a bunch of ballots and puts it in the box, they should report that, and we'll make sure that the attorney, the district attorney, gets that referral and investigates that citizen.
Okay, thank you.
Is there
And it'll
signage,
be on a camera, so you're gonna go to jail.
is there signage there that states that in front of the boxes?
Is there? Okay, yep. Becky says there is.
Did you have a question? Go ahead, Tom.
Mr. McClure, is there a list you have? I guess some polling places are moved or different than what they were.
Very few, and there is a list, and what, were there 4?
One in Palmer.
Each person was notified
Yeah,
individually.
that's required, that's an old requirement, and everybody was notified. They get a postcard.
You get a new voter registration, you get a new voter card. Yeah, because I understand a couple of my districts.
On voting, is it okay or not, because I was asked a question, for a husband to take his and his wife's and drop it in the
No.
mailbox?
No.
It's only you.
That's correct.
I wanna make sure we're clear with that.
There's a form you can get.
Right.
Which authorizes you to drop a ballot off.
Not me.
But, you know,
Is there any chance that any other polling places will have to be moved or diverted prior to Election Day?
there's always a
Or
chance.
is there a deadline by which that must happen?
There's always a chance, but no.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for the executive? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And Alex, I just wanted to clarify, I'm not, the fact that you're a veteran, I'm glad, because when I said about grumpy, I'm talking about people my age, especially guys that, like, for example, during Vietnam era. My brother-in-law and both my best man were Vietnam combat veterans. And they got to run around for years. And one area would say, go here, another area would go there. And it was, they have a right to be grumpy, because, I mean, that was an era when there were you didn't have the parades, you didn't have the banners, you had nothing. Your goal was to come in and slide in as quietly as you could. And so, in fairness, they have, if anybody has a right to be upset or get upset about being given the runaround, it's particularly, those were the days before parades, or at least an era where there were no parades, no acknowledgement. And I think that it would be tough. I'm glad we continue the Northampton County tradition of having a veteran head up our Veterans Affairs Department. And I think that fact alone is going to make a tremendous difference to the veterans who come in, because Lord knows, you know, there's a lot of them, especially the older ones, who feel sometimes underserved. And so.
I agree with you, and with that generation of Vietnam veterans, like you mentioned, how that we have to be sensitive towards that
Yeah.
generation and those.
Yeah, there's still a lot of healing going on in that area. So, all right, thank you. And I just wanted you to know, thank you. Not everybody's going to be grumpy. But when you get to a certain age, veteran or not, sometimes a little crankiness sneaks in.
Mr. President,
Mr. President.
Yes,
just one more thing to tag on that. I
Yeah.
hope that you get the proper training that you need, because there's people out there looking for their DD 214s that can't find them. They need the resources, they need the help, and I hope you help them. Thank you.
And all of us Vietnam veterans are not grumpy.
I'm not as eloquent as President Trump or Joe Biden, so I had to explain myself. All right, moving on. I have no old business. Is there anyone who has any old business? Ms.
Can
Zirinsky,
we untable that
you
one?
making a motion to
I'm making a
untable
motion to
the ordinance
untable
on
the ordinance
Louise Moore Park?
on the Louise Moore Park.
All right, there's a motion made to untable. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Mr. Myers seconds. Now we'll have a vote on untabling the ordinance. I believe it was an ordinance, correct?
Yes.
An ordinance on the pumping station at Louise Moore Park. Ms. Zirinsky, excuse me, Ms. Zembo, my Z's. Ms. Zembo, please call the roll.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
No.
Mrs. Ferraro.
No.
Mr. Giovanni.
No.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes,
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 6 to 3.
all right, so it's taken off the table, and so now we can have discussion. Ms. Zirinsky, since you made the motion originally, do you want to have something to say?
I just think it's imperative that we preserve the understanding and the commitment that we have to maintain that trust. I think that's first and foremost. I think that we need to protect the park. And I think that we are not bound by anything a previous council decided. And so we have to stand and make our decision today. Regardless, we have to make a decision on this. So today's the day.
Okay. Any other discussion? I know some questions were put to the executive, but is there any other council members that have anything else to say on this or wish to say or ask? If there isn't any, I guess then we'll call for the vote. Repealing the ordinance number 617-2017.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
No.
Mrs. Ferraro.
No.
Mr. Giovanni.
No.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted by a vote of 6 to 3.
All right, here we are. Next item, now, is there anyone else who has any other old business? Seeing none, let's go to new business. First, I have consideration of the second round of municipal grants resolution. Mr. Lott, would you please introduce this?
Sure will. I'm going to start with the whereas that is different than all the rest of them on the CARES Act. Whereas recommendations attached hereto and made a part hereof, Exhibit B, have been presented to Northampton County Council's Community and Economic Development Committee totaling $684,185 in grant funds for 10 projects. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton, number one, that the recommended grants in Exhibit B are approved. Number two, that the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute any and all necessary grant agreements with the applications not to exceed the approved amount of each grant.
Okay. Any discussion?
Were we not supposed to get a copy of the, did she not say she was going to give us the breakdown?
Yeah, but I don't. I have to email it to you. I can email you the detailed list, and if you have questions, I can go over it.
It
That's-
doesn't have what they are. So Bethlehem Township is recommending 32,300.
Meaning the specific
Yeah.
projects.
So what is the project?
Do you have specific questions about one of the municipalities?
What's East Allen, $475,150?
They actually submitted 3 applications, so they're getting 2 of the 3. All of the townships are eligible expenses, whether it's PPE equipment, whether it's giving them the money for the electronic equipment for capabilities for them to do remote meetings and remote work, plexiglass partitions, COVID expenditures, cleaning staffs. The only thing that we removed, which was not an eligible expense, was legal costs.
Mr. Lott?
So you removed legal costs from East Allen Township? Is that the one or you're referring to all of them you removed?
No,
Anybody that
any
put in-
borough that
any-
asked for legal fees to be reimbursed is not an eligible expense. So
Right,
we
I'm just
removed that.
really concerned about East Allen Township. Excuse me?
Is your mic on?
Yes, my mic is on. I'm concerned about East Allen Township. I mean, the number is just so much different than any other community. And in a lot of communities, a few communities didn't even come up with any expenses. It just seems $475,000 for one community. I mean, what did this community do that these other communities didn't? It's just a lot of money.
They were creative.
They were creative.
I mean, that's really.
Do we know what it is they're spending it on?
Sure, I can tell you. Fire EMS service upgrades, purchase of mobile radios, portable radios, lightweight turnout rescue gear setup, vehicle cabin filtration system, website and virtual engagement technology upgrades, camera and audio systems for meetings, website updates, website hosting, virtual meeting software, citizen notification software, and permitting of licensed software. So it's all eligible, and like I said, that's what, they were creative in their application. Unfortunately, some of the municipalities were either not as creative or frankly, as I had a discussion with Kevin, didn't apply at all regardless of how many opportunities and outreach.
Okay, thank you.
I think that region really relies on them. They're in a hub right there, and I know sometimes when some of the other areas can't respond, they're right there. I mean, they've been there for a long time, and they're ahead of their game, so.
All right, Mr. Myers and back to Mr. Lott.
Only thing I have to ask the question on is this. If the red flags have come up with East Allen has to respond and answer to them, not the county of Northampton, correct?
That is correct, and that's,
That's on them if they can't justify what they're getting.
yes, and that language is in their contract.
Mr. Lott, you got to follow up.
The only downside to saying, yes, they will pay it back is we could have used that money somewhere else for if it would come back as not eligible, that would be a real shame because then we just kind of lost that money. So I'm sure your staff is looking these things over quite thoroughly because God, if they come back and take 200,000 back, we don't get another chance to give that to somebody that really needs it. So, hopefully we did our due diligence. And once again, I ask you this every meeting, I just want it on record. We reached out to every community in multiple ways to make sure, and I see a lot of them that weren't on the first one are here, but
Correct.
I just want to make sure these communities had an opportunity, and you assure me several times they have, so I just
Absolutely.
want to put it on again. So, thank you.
Ms. Vargo Hefner.
I appreciate that. I am uncomfortable not seeing what it's for, because the last ordinance we had very clearly articulated what everybody was getting, and we had a chance to really see it ourselves, and I wish we could have had that in the last hour. So I'm uncomfortable. And my own township is on here, so I'd like to give money, but I don't know what everybody asked for, so
What's your suggestion?
I'm not sure. We could table it. I don't want to deny people money, but
We're punishing the rest.
huh?
All right, are there any other questions on this, any discussion?
No.
Did you have anything that you wanted to do, or follow up?
No, I just feel, I understand there's a lot of money going out. People do a lot of work. I think we have to be the ones that have to answer to it at some point. And it's great to say, oh, well, if they screwed up, they'll have to answer to it. But I agree with Mr. Lott. That's money that could go somewhere else. And it seems like a ton of money going to one place compared to everybody else. And I don't know how many of these, because it doesn't articulate for me, how many of these are repeats versus.
None of them are repeats. This is a whole.
So none of
completely-
these townships and none of these places got money last time?
Correct.
Wow. Is there any?
This is a whole brand-new list of municipalities that you have not approved before.
They did not take it the first time.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been good to have the breakout. I don't disagree with Ms. Hefner. I mean, you just explained what the East Allen. I think the problem was that jumped out so much from the other.
Sure.
And, I mean, like you explained it, that everything was done appropriately, so.
I can read the rest of them if
I mean-
that will appease everyone. I asked for
Not
it.
for my benefit at this point,
Okay.
only because we've done one round, but I understand where Ms. Hefner's coming from. Would anyone want her to read off what they are for before you vote? Mr., you want to
I
hear?
can be quick.
No, go ahead. I mean,
I just don't want to delay the funding because they need to program
why
this
don't you
money
just go ahead
should
and
council
start?
approve it.
Just go ahead and
Okay,
start.
Bethlehem Township, electronic document management system to support telework and virtual meetings at the amount of $32,370. You already heard East Allen Township. Forks Township, purchase of cleaning supplies, plexiglass partitions, extra cleaning of facilities and equipment, transition to touchless facilities, and purchase of webcam system for virtual meetings in the amount of $21,939. Freemansburg Borough, COVID-19 expenditures for cleaning staff, incurred equipment costs to allow staff to work from home, COVID-19 supplies for borough facilities, legal costs removed for a total amount of $32,695. Hanover Township, technology update, purchase of software, Pro 7 Microsoft 365 capability for Board of Supervisors, Township Secretary and Staff Manager to allow essential staff and board to operate remotely and conduct public meetings remotely for the amount of $15,188. Lower Saucon Township, purchase of laptops to support telework and purchase of disinfectant sprayers for public works and police departments for a total of $12,157. Moore Township, purchase of Microsoft Surface Pros to conduct virtual meetings and allow for telework and virtual meetings for a total of $23,045. North Catasauqua, staff who responded to and planned for COVID-19, reimbursement of PPE equipment, disinfectants, cleaning supplies, and virtual meeting hardware, implementation of an online billing system, and legal fees, which was removed. Total requests, $27,108. And Williams Township, purchase of laptop work for virtual work, purchase of fogger spray and chemicals for disinfecting, go-to-meeting membership, purchase of signage for township parks and PPE purchases for a total of $2,524. Wind Gap Borough is getting a generator for their social hall, which is going to be used and will continue to be used for food distribution during the pandemic for a total of $42,000.
Mr. Myers?
Do you have all that written down in front of you right now?
Yep.
Is it possible that we just get copies of that, and we hold off on this and vote late? Take,
Well, I can
vote
move
after
it
that?
to the last thing under new items if you want to. Why don't we do this? Can you run off copies of that tonight yet?
I can,
All right,
Just
and then
don't
what we'll,
mind my
Tina,
writing at the
on this
top.
particular item, I'm going to move this particular consideration of this municipal grant. Why don't we hold off on that for now?
Okay.
And we'll jump to the second one.
Okay.
That works.
All right, and then I think everybody will be happy with that. I got to do a Chris Wallace now, I don't know.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry. Anybody that
Sorry to
sat
tease.
through that thing,
Clearly, we're affected.
yeah, we're clearly affected. I was certainly affected. All right, consideration of the Community Mediation Eviction Division CMed program funding resolution. Mr. Lott?
Okay, that's going to be called CMed
CMed.
in this resolution. And whereas Northampton County Council is desirous to allocate the amount of $648,256 to provide COVID-19 funding toward the CMed plan to prevent Northampton County residents from becoming homeless. Now, therefore it be resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton, number one, that the allocations of COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant totaling $648,256 is approved. Number two, that the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute any and all necessary grant agreements to effectuate the COVID-19 CMed plan.
Thank you. Discussion, questions? We haven't discussed this. I would just like to say, I hope, and I mean, I think council would agree with you, like, this is a serious issue, the homelessness, but also this idea of people losing the ability to afford affordable housing. And I know we've discussed this for 2.5 to 2 years now. But I would hope that, you know, when you go, and our representative goes to the planning commission and that the powers that be, the community powers that be, the valley, really understand how serious an issue this is. I don't, we talked about data flowing around, and we have a lot of data out there. We don't always, we duplicate it sometimes. We don't do anything with it. I hope that those folks aren't just like talking about it, but they're actually looking at plans like we are. Yeah, go ahead. I certainly, come on up. I mean, my concern is the valley-wide. Nothing I don't think that we can specifically do. I think we're doing everything we can do right now.
I think, you know this, Mr. Heckman, as well as I do. This is 40 years now nearly in the making with the federal government, HUD specifically, abdicating their responsibility to house moderate income folks, whether they be seniors or young working folks. And so this is, I think, you have a lot of people who are relatively younger and don't remember when the HUD devolution started. I mean, that was a big thing in the 80s, and you'll recall that. And now we're at the point where we're at this tipping point where you could have a lot of people homeless in a very quick period of time. And, you know, the feds are now taking some of that money they used to spend on housing people, and it's slowly being funneled down to us. But here's the problem. There's a reason there were national solutions and statewide solutions to these problems, because that's where all the money was. So the little bit of money that's trickling down, this is what the Human Services and DCD is trying to figure out. How do we spend a little bit of CDBG money, that little bit of this, the little bit of that? How do we pull it all together and make sure people don't get homeless? CMed, though, is just, that's an emergency program, right? But we're on the same page.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and I remember, as you do, the 80s, I mean, from the 80s going forward, and I don't want to be the grumpy guy, going back and saying, oh, we're going to live with prices from the 60s or the 70s, but it started taking a dramatic turn. And I mean, I know the colleges, they talk about, well, we've been to build housing for these young professionals coming in. There are, as you well know, Mr. Cooler, there's a lot of young people who don't end up becoming professionals. And I hate to see a drain from the valley of a lot of the folks that have lived here, enjoy living here, and just can't afford it anymore. I mean, they're pulling up stakes and moving out just because we're encouraging high-end earners, and there's people, as you noted, there's people then that fall through the cracks. And you're right, the national and the state governments I don't know. I wish they would reassess the policies that were pursued. And that goes through mental health and a lot of other things. I mean, we could go on and on about how the country changed. I guess because of my perspective, and as you know, we took a fairly dramatic turn and kept turning.
The only thing I would say that gives me hope, in addition to I have these wonderful people who want to tackle this problem, is that with the devolution of these issues and the money that's coming down, with the number of people that we have to take care of in Northampton County, we might actually be able to make a dent in our own problem, right? So that, you know, we've been talking a lot about that lately, handling our own business. And we might actually be able to make a dent. So, you know, we need to get that program under.
All right, I'll shut up now. Anybody else have anything to say? All right, call for the vote.
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. McGee? Yes. Mr. Myers? Yes. Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Actually, thank you for the promptness. We got the reports back on where the money went. So I'm going to jump back to number 1, and we'll clear that off then. So what we're doing is we're going back to number 1 under old new business, consideration of second round of municipal grants resolution. We have been provided with a list, everybody and what they got and what it was for. So take a look. I'm going to ask a general question up front, and that is that I noticed when you were explaining that to us, IT came into play for the meetings and things like that. That's an allowable cost to do that?
Yes.
And under the COVID guidelines? All right. I mean, I can't remember from the first round. I just was curious to what I could see IT in an emergency sense, but I just wondered.
Yes, IT is allowable because a lot of the municipalities, as county council did for some time, had to orchestrate remote meetings
All right.
and continue their staff to work remotely.
Yeah, I figured. I just was curious. You might as well stay there
just stay
because
there.
I have a feeling.
I think you're one of the few bodies that meets in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of them are still remote. Yep.
Yeah, you're right. Tara, Ms.
Yeah.
Zirinsky.
So I want to know why East Allen Township was denied for server upgrades and backup servers and all the computer stuff that it seems like everybody else was okay with. And then they got the vehicle cabin filtration system for $320,000. So can you just explain that?
Was just tried to balance out a little bit more fair and equal funding because of the amount that they had asked for. They submitted 3 applications while other municipalities submitted 1.
Yeah, so why did you, I guess, okay, I'll rephrase my question.
They can be, they can be flexible. If we give them a dollar amount and they want to move
They could
stuff
allocate it
around
to
to
whatever they
eligible
want to.
buckets, if they feel a need, yes.
So the fact that you've justified the vehicle cabin filtration system doesn't mean that they have to spend the money on that. They could spend it however they want to.
Well, not however they want to, as long as it still fits within the eligible buckets.
So they can,
But anything that we pulled out just because of financial purposes is still eligible.
so you agreed to the 2 higher instead of the 1 lower? The lowest? You just gave them the 2 higher?
Yeah.
And is there any cap on these? There
No.
was no cap?
There
'Cause I
was
know
not
Bethlehem-
on the application, no.
Yeah, because last time, I mean, Bethlehem City, Easton, they got over $1 million or 900 some odd $1,000, right?
Right.
So I guess that's my point. If Bethlehem City and Easton City got so much, and there were some people that got significant amounts of money, why was this denied if your justification is we just wanted to allocate it? Was there only a certain amount of money left?
The 2 cities are the 2 cities. They're the largest populated areas within the county. So we tried to do it on like
Population
a
basis?
size ratio, yeah. What they what they asked for was so close to what the city's got with a portion of the size.
No, I'm done, thanks.
I apologize for my mic being on and I was asking Chris some solicitor questions. I didn't know my mic was on, just so a couple of these, the East Allen, I didn't notice it was on a few times. That's how you got to the number. I was just looking at your top one. But, Mr. Myers,
I'm not confused, but it just looks to me that what East Allen did from 2, 3, and 4 is they duplicated what they wanted. So by cutting out one of them, they got what they wanted anyway. Am I correct? Because in 2, they're asking for technical stuff, and they're asking for it in 2, and they're asking for it in 4.
I think
So they're basically getting what they want.
Well, maybe. I mean, it is different technical stuff, and they do have to keep track and records and provide us with receipts on their expenditures. So it's all going to be documented.
any other questions from anyone else on this specific list? Or if not, we'll go to a vote on the resolution. Oh, sorry, Ms. Hefner. Going once, twice.
Do we have to vote on it collectively, or can we break it? Are people comfortable with voting it on it collectively, or is there something that people are not
I
comfortable
don't
with?
know what people want.
Well, that's why I'm asking my colleagues, because
I mean, me, I'll vote on it collectively. I don't know if anyone wants to break anything out.
okay.
All right, thank you. Call for the vote.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes.
Mr. McGee, Mr. Myers,
Yes?
Margot Hefner,
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Consideration of Northampton County Higher Education Institution Support Resolution. Mr. Lott.
Whereas the Council of Northampton County is desirous to allocate the amount of $800,000 to provide COVID-19 funding for direct assistance to higher education institutions in Northampton County for the safety of their students and faculty. Specifically, 200,000 individual grants would be awarded to each of the following institutions: Lafayette College, Lehigh University, Moravian College, and Northampton Community College. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton, number one, that the allocation of COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant totaling $800,000 is approved. Number two, that the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute any and all necessary grant agreements to effectuate the COVID-19 CARES Act assistance to higher education institutions.
Thank you. Discussion. I know this was discussed at your committee, but we had a fair amount of questions and my presentation. Mr. Lott, did you want to add?
Just to repeat you, all these or at least this resolution and the CMed resolution was discussed in committee meeting. My concern, you're giving these higher institutions money, and you look at the endowments on some of these colleges, not so much Moravian and not so much Northampton County, but these people have a lot. That was explained to us and makes me feel a little bit better. That is very concerning to me, but I understand how hard it is to change an endowment fund, because most of them are designated when the people are given the money for whatever, a building, a particular, they designate that money. So I do get it, but it is concerning. It is concerning because there's so much need out in the community to give somebody like Lafayette or Lehigh some money. But that being said, they were affected like a lot of other people out in the community, very much affected. I mean, some of the losses we saw were $23 million, I believe, was one of the schools. So it's not a real easy vote for me, but I will support this.
Is there any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Hefner.
I appreciate what Mr. Lott said. My problem with a lot of these things, and it's, and I really appreciated them coming tonight and speaking and breaking it down and educating. I think they should come once a year and talk to us about what they're doing. They're a big entity in the county, and I really appreciate hearing from them. But again, here's the money, no explanation of what it's for, or we're like, okay, we're gonna all use this for cleaning supplies. So I really wish we could get to the point that we could just say, I'm gonna use it for X, or that we would see breakdowns of this stuff. That's where I have difficulty. Now, I have less difficulty now that we just gave one entity $400,000, so I feel very justified in giving colleges money when we saw the losses they've taken. But I don't know, I just feel like we're giving a lot of people Christmas very early all the time. So I wish we could break some of this money down. And maybe those of you who've been government longer than I have don't feel uncomfortable with that, but at some point, we're going to be asked to justify this, and I don't feel like I have enough information to keep doing that.
You almost echoed what some of Mr. Groove's old statements at the end of the year when council did the grants.
Well, I'm no relation, and I'm not channeling the dead, so I apologize.
No, I question too, in the sense of, I said it was egalitarian to give everybody 200,000, but I question the need relative to Lehigh University versus NACAC. But,
See, I don't even mind that part as much as I might, like, tell me the why, because Lehigh gave us a big presentation where they lost money and how they're not getting money. I get it, how they couldn't break up the endowments, that's fine. And proportion of students, they're giving money back to the students, like, all that stuff is helpful information, but I still don't see where they're gonna take these dollars and actually put them. And then once it's gone, we have no oversight, or do they have to be accountable in any way for this also?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I mean.
Yes, everybody who gets money will be held accountable. They are all getting contracts, and they are all responsible to get us their expenditures back. So they will be getting receipts for any future PPE equipment purchases that they're going to be utilizing this money for, or they're giving us receipts of items that were already purchased because they can go back until March.
Right, and
For that,
again,
to
I asked you a question on the break that I didn't get answered, but like, when I look at supporting these folks, okay, we could look at, they have endowments, but they're huge employers. And that's the other thing, like, those 4 entities are all in this county, and they comprise a lot of people that spend money in our communities and stuff, so again, I don't
And
mind
tomorrow,
that.
we will email all of them and ask for those employment numbers.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and
I don't think they're working
part of
right
it
now.
was.
We only got
that-
Lafayette.
No, but you know what I mean, like, I assume that higher ed is a huge percentage
Sure.
of what
The
we're.
resolution had said safety of students and faculty, and we got a lot of economic development answers, like we are an economic driver. And as opposed to what are the specific safety measures of the faculty and students that you're going to use this
I
200
think,
for?
I think they were just trying to show
Gratitude.
that
They were given a
the
standard
truth of the
presentation.
matter, their students, their staff, they go into the downtowns and they patronize the business communities that are there. So, yes, they are an economic engine.
Right,
that
but we're not
puts
giving
money
them
back
as an
into the
economic
county.
engine. We're giving them money for safety. of
Well,
their
right, but
students.
3 of 4 propose to either purchase or reimburse themselves for PPE equipment.
Okay. I'm fine with it. I mean, I just was.
To follow up on Ms. Fargo Hefner's question, they don't get the money on the front end, they got to turn their receipts in first, right?
Well, if they already purchased the equipment.
Oh, sure, no, they have to,
That could
sure.
have been done up until March. Anything from March on
But
is
they
an
have to show a
eligible
receipt
expense.
of either a
But yes, they
purchase
will have to show us
before they get the money. So
receipts.
It will be accounted for.
Yes.
It will be vetted. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
I'm echoing what everybody else is saying, except for the fact, if at some point they're going to turn this information back over to you, Tina,
Yes,
can we get a copy of what they actually spent the money on?
sure.
That answers my questions, then,
mean, if-
because we heard what community college was doing. We heard part of what Lafayette was doing, and Lehigh gave us an explanation as why you can't use endowments, and that's pretty self-explanatory. But if we're gonna get a copy of what they're gonna do, I feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, you can get that.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. McGee. Yes. Mr. Meyer.
Yep.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
All right, next we're going to number 4, consideration of a resolution approving the small businesses receiving funding via the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant. Mr. Lott, once again.
Knock this mic off.
Put that back together. Okay, whereas the recommendation to attach hereto and made a part hereof, Exhibit C, has been presented to the Northampton County Northampton County Council's Community and Economic Development Committee totaling $279,500 in grant funds for 22 small businesses. Now, therefore be resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton, number 1, that the recommended grants in Exhibit C are approved. Number 2, that the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute grant agreements with the application not to exceed the approved amount for each grant.
Thank you. Discussion. Mr. Kuzic.
Yeah, I just had a question. Maybe Mr. Barron can answer it. I see he's still here and he's awake. I guess,
Poor guy.
I guess,
We're gonna have to have a Steve
my,
appreciation day.
we've spent a lot of money here tonight. How much funding is still remaining of this CARES Act that we?
It's probably between, based on the math, probably like 1.5 to 2 million maybe. It's left of what is like still in the hopper. And then there's potential for more, but it's about 1.5 million.
So right now, it's about 1.5.
Is it counting all this?
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, I understand what Ms. Vargo Hefner was trying to say before. I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers the movie Brewster's Millions, where a ton of money was just dropped into a gentleman's lap, and he had to spend it in a really short time period.
Every dollar, right?
Yeah, that's what this exercise has felt like to me. We've gotten a lot of money out there really fast. Some good decisions have been made, maybe some weren't, we'll find out. But this is what happens when the federal government hands these types of directions to local counties, municipalities, without a lot of direction. So I don't know what the plan is for that 1.5 million, but I think that this body and this administration has done an admirable job getting this money out as quickly as possible. So I'm going to support this, and I hope you can come up with a way to spend the rest of the money. Thank you.
I think we'll be,
I'm sure we can.
absolutely.
Mr. Meyer, wait.
Mr. Barron?
I think you may have a few fans that want to ask you a question.
Oh, I ain't gonna be as bad now. I ain't gonna be as bad. All due respect, is there a possibility that maybe we're getting more money out to small businesses, or are we done with that?
It's always possible. We get the need, we hear a new story every day. So we try to be as responsive as we can be. Mr. Lott and Mr. Heckman served on our committee, and we struggled with a deadline, and we had to see where the money was. And then these are the last of the businesses that had applied, showed a need, and we were able to meet that need. So.
But if there's more money, are we gonna open it back up for people who might have slept through that?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. It depends on how much money is left. Like I had said, when DCED, the state DCED, has actually given us information that they may be kicking more money down to the counties,
Right.
as late November, early December. And, we're going to have to look at some of those things, and that could be a possibility.
If it is,
So
we're
we
gonna
might
be
not
less
get
aware of
it
it, because I think that chamber thing is already taken down.
Yeah, it is taken down, and primarily because we don't want to,
Yeah.
But if there's a need, believe me, they reach out to myself, they reach out to Ms. Smith, And they reach out to the chamber. So, you know, we're still friends with Jess and the chamber, and they'll help us through whatever we need, you know, as we keep rolling forward.
Only thing I have to say is you guys have done a magnificent job of taking care of the people in this county, and I applaud you for the job that you guys have done, because it's really been a cluster, and I'm going to let it go with that.
Good. Mr. Lott?
And I guess I'm asking the obvious here, but did the county get all the money they are entitled to through the CARES Act? Are we leaving money, I mean, are we grabbing money, because, you know,
So,
we're a taxpayer group too. We have to try to.
So we identify those expenses. My goal is to make sure that we are not in a position like the other municipalities. We've taken an overabundance of caution. And I will tell you, when I woke up this morning and read my email, the rules changed again as to what's allowable. So we are working with the municipalities, and this is being kicked down from the state. So I give one answer, and then it turns out I was right, and then I have to go back. So we are working very, very diligently to make sure we use the most accurate information to get it to these municipalities. And when you talk about the list that was wide open, to get back to Ms. Zirinsky's question before, when we give them that bulk of the money, if it wasn't approved for something else and we find out that maybe this won't be an eligible expense, we give them, you know, we have flexibility in their proposal, which is good. So we don't have to ask for that money back.
And I mean, I would say in some cases, we're doing the micro work economics, but to be honest, like Mr. Cusick touched on, we're talking about economic theory too. I mean, the feds through the states and us are pumping money into our community to help hold up and support entities that if you went with, and I'm rusty on some of my old economic theories, so I don't want to quote somebody who isn't right, but I mean, there are some who, when GM got the bailout, so-called bailout from which they paid back from the feds, there were many who said, don't give them a nickel, let them go bankrupt. But, you know, and some still believe that should have been the way it goes. But by bailing out GM, in one sense, you not only save GM, but all those subcontractors who might have a little shop with 4 people who are providing the little black plastic box that the fuse goes in. So, I mean, in many ways, we're discussing how we allot it, and we're playing by the rules as we get them day by day. But I mean, this is really a stimulus package in any other language, if you want to use it. And I agree. I agree with Mr. Myers. I think the county's done a very good job in how you've handled this overall. I mean, we can all discuss and quibble over specific amounts, but
It's very Keynesian.
thank you. What is that? Keynesian, as opposed to the
Milton
supplies. Milton Friedman, yes, thank you. Okay. No, but
See, I'm a social worker, what's up now?
Mr. Cusick could have bailed me out, but he refused to say anything.
Like the good teacher that he is.
Yes, okay. Any other questions for Mr. Barron while he's here, so we don't have to make him come back? If not, thank you.
How's the fun there, hotel?
Paid flag. Taking a beating tonight, Steve. All right. Any other discussion or question on this? I had one for Tina. Adams, these are all places that didn't get it before.
Yes.
This list, yes, this is.
Didn't we do, Adams didn't get
Yeah,
anything?
we're not going to duplicate efforts. This is a whole new list of 22 businesses. Yep.
You know, like we were sitting on that committee and I thought, but I know what you said, so it's my mistake, but it stuck out for me for some reason.
Yeah,
All right.
these are new.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, if that's it, then let's call for the vote.
Mr. Lott?
Yes.
Mr. McGee? Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro? Peg? Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Should I call the adoption?
Okay, thank you.
Adopted by a vote of 8-0.
Peg, are you there?
She's on, but she's not.
I think when Steve didn't acknowledge her as being part of that committee with Mr. Lott and I, she disgustingly hung up or something. Put her phone on mute. But anyway, all right.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Just one thing. May I ask just one question?
Go
I
right
don't have
ahead.
A lot of order here.
It's your chance now.
Ms. Smith, there's a couple of them that they're at the end of the list where there's no money next to their names. Did they not get any money? These,
What are you looking at?
the list here. If you
Okay.
take a piece of paper and go across, you'll see that there's 3 names at the bottom that didn't, and I just noticed it, I'm sorry.
The last 3, I
Yeah.
have on here. The child care is 15,000. The Dragon Karate is 7,500, and the pediatric therapy is 10,000.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yep, that's good, they all got something. Great.
All right, then we'll move on to number 5, consideration of hazard pay for Graysdale employees resolution. Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Sorry. There she
All right,
is.
thanks, Pat.
Whereas Northampton County has identified the need in the coming months for Graysdale employees to be granted hazard pay as frontline workers fighting COVID-19, and whereas Northampton County is looking to compensate Graysdale employees working directly with residents who contract the virus, and Northampton County needs to make sure shifts are full and residents have the level of care they have come to expect from Graysdale. Now therefore, be it resolved, that Northampton County directs the Graysdale administration to begin paying hazard pay to staff of Graysdale as follows: 20% throughout the home, 25% for units with 2 or more positive residents, and 30% to those assigned to the isolation unit, Tower 10, effective September 20, 2020.
Thank you. Discussion, questions? I know you discussed this at your committee. If there's nothing else to add to it, let's go. Go ahead, Mr. Meyer.
If we don't get COVID, there's no money being spent, correct?
No,
But I,
no, it's 20 across the board.
Mr. McCook, is that, I didn't get to clarify.
That's correct, and as was discussed in the committee meeting,
Right.
with it, part of why Jen wants to do this, Mr. King, is because of the testing that everyone's going through periodically, and, I've had it myself, it's not, it's not the worst thing that ever happened to me, but, it ain't cool, and you're gonna be doing it every 2 weeks to a month, so I think it's probably a good idea to do this so they don't start refusing to be tested. Somebody talked about incentive beef. I think it was Ms. Fargo Hefner. And yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
What, did you? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done, Carrie?
Yep.
All right, Mr. Lott.
Is that the only facility we're doing these mandatory, let's call them these tests? I mean, are we doing them in the prison?
We are, but I don't believe the prison testing is as widespread and as frequent as the Graysdale testing.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we end up starting to have issues there, we will have money to.
Yes, you have already approved a significant amount of money for prison testing. We are covered there for the time being.
If we have more
Yes.
issues in the prison.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think I can safely say we are covered for testing at the prison through the balance of the year because of the money county council has already appropriated.
Is that also included with the Juvenile Justice Center, or is that not part of what?
No,
we don't
that's
have
the
to worry
court
about
budget.
that?
Yeah, that's the court budget.
But just to clarify, we do have money if we need to give the jail, hazard pay. There would be money to do that if we had a break out there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can you clarify which pools of money, these are from their salary or their staff? Or is this-
Clarify what?
Where's the money coming from to fund? This is separate pools of money we've already approved, or this is just general budget fund and we're paying hazard pay?
For the Graysdale people?
Yes.
It's coming out of CARES Act money that was specific to Graysdale, not out of the 27.6. Graysdale gets CARES money directly from the federal and state government.
Do we have to
Mr.
spend that
Kusick.
by the 31st too?
What?
We have to spend that by December?
So I think they
She
said the
said-
state money has to be spent by the end of the year, and they have some
Federal
federal
can
money that
go
goes
into
into
next year.
21.
So if we do this hazard pay, it will be until December 31st, and then I'll dip into the second pot?
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Mr. Kusick.
Honestly, Councilwoman, I don't think we've gamed it out that far.
Okay.
Yeah, my concern was that some of this money is to individuals that are not directly dealing with patients. But I guess my other question is, will this count towards an individual's pension, or will it be separate, like a bonus?
It does count, right? Yeah, it does count. Yep.
would it be possible through fiscal affairs to give us to wrap our heads around it? Because there's been a lot of
I think the law
improvements.
requires it to count.
If we could get a sheet that would, on one or two sheets, that specify what we've given out so far and to who, like not to the specific businesses, but X amount to small businesses on round one. But, I mean, just so council, I think we've been doing it now for how many months?
Right.
And I think it would be helpful. That way, we have a good understanding.
We have an accounting.
Yes.
We'll give it to you.
that's-
Yep.
That way, we can look at a couple of sheets and know what we're looking at. Well, go ahead and ask the question.
Would it not be appropriate to have an end date or a review date?
For what?
Because there's, for this, because it doesn't have any end.
What, the hazard pay?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that.
I mean, I guess one pool of money ends by definition
Right.
December 31st, but the other, I mean, again, I guess, that's my question. Does the funding dictate the end date, or do we need to review it at a specific point of time?
I think that when the funding runs out, we'll have to figure out how we're going to fund it going forward if we're going to continue to pay it. But I don't anticipate, until there's a widespread vaccine, I don't anticipate us not needing to test every other week. Remember, our visitation system is entirely dependent upon not having any positive tests in the facility, and we're going to continue to test to make sure we protect as many people as we can.
All right. Thank you. All right, nothing else? Yeah, I mean, I think normally I'd like to cross the Ts and dot the Is on some of that, but I mean, this is a situation where actually the virus is setting the time frame, and we're just sort of running along with it. I mean,
The virus is, but it sounds like the funding stream is as well, because if you
Well-
can't spend it past the 31st, you don't have it, you have to find another pocket
you
of
want to
money.
know if this money he's going to use here, if he does use it, are you asking, is it coming from the part that ends at the end of the year or the part that goes into the next fiscal year?
What I was originally asking and suggesting is, it just says, we're gonna pay hazard pay to Graysdale, and it's ad infinitum, because there's no end date or there's no review date for us. However, if the end date is dictated by the funding stream, then we don't need it. So I was
funding-
asking for clarification.
I will clarify this, the funding's not going to run out by the end of the year.
And you could give us a report.
Mr. Cusick pointed out that he has never seen a balance sheet at Graysdale like he sees now. It's going to be hard to spend the money by the end of the year.
Use it or lose it.
Yeah, and we have to
No, I
give,
don't
and we
want
have
to
to
lose
give it
it, and
back.
I don't want to not reward them. I just want to do due diligence here and ask the question, that's all.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other questions or discussion, let's call for the vote.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. McGee. Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Is there any other new business to discuss? Does somebody have something new they wish to discuss? Seeing no one? Council committee reports,
I have one.
Ms. Vargo Hefner?
We just had Human Services meeting prior to this meeting. We did hear from Graysdale census is slightly up, which was good news. Let's see what else. We are going to be hearing more during the Finance Committee, but Ms. Wondolowski discussed the idea of a housing consultant and a new program that we're going to use to address homelessness or affordable housing in the county. Laurie Greco was here and discussed area agency on aging. And I should announce that there's flu shots available to 60-year-olds plus who were consumers of our senior centers. There'll be drive-in flu shots available. And there's an implicit bias work group that's going to be happening with employees at the DHS. And no news on civil service yet, but one can hope. That's it.
I think one of the great pieces of information was no COVID cases at Graysdale.
Right.
At the moment, so.
Right,
that's-
and that the testing continues and none
Right.
with staff either. Thank you.
Mr. Lott,
Yes, today at 3:30, we had an Economic Development Committee meeting where we were able to review the funding for Northampton County Higher Education Institutes. We were given presentations by Lehigh University, Lafayette University, Lafayette College, Moravian College, and Northampton Community College. We were also given a review of the CMed program, which is Community Mediation Eviction Aversion Program funding to keep people from going homeless. It was a very full meeting, and we didn't get through everything, but those were the things we covered. Thank you.
thank you. Any other committee reports? See none. Liaison reports? Anyone? All right, seeing none, I want to make a report. Everybody should have gotten their budget hearing schedules have gone out. And I don't know, I mean, that's what we're planning. But as anybody knows who's been around, sometimes somebody says to us, we can't make it that date. I'm not going to point at any one area of the government, and then we'll change it. So the thing is, right now, that's where we're at. And if you can check it out, and remember, we got a couple this month. Next week, I think we have our first one.
Yeah, the first one's October 7th.
Yeah, October 7th is our first. So anyway, and tomorrow, the county executive is going to release his budget. And I think the county's anxiously awaiting that. So that's all I wanted to point out. 10 in the morning.
10 a.m., huh?
Meetings are all at 4:30.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that's the schedule now, but, I mean, and that should hold. I just meant that sometimes things get
But the time is going to stay
4:30, yeah, I would say
The
4:30.
schedule will hold, but sometimes the departments may change.
Somebody
That's fine,
wants to
just
come
don't
a
change
different.
the start time.
Okay. All right, I think then, Mr. Kusick?
Mr. President, since you brought up the budget, I'd like to raise this request with the executive. It's usually helpful, especially for the new folks, to have the individual department heads available to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their budget. So I'd appreciate if the executive could offer his staff for that purpose. Thank you.
If this executive wouldn't mind a personal invitation to
Department heads?
present themselves during their budget hearing. I agree, that's very nice. Have we figured out? Okay, I have no other report to give.
Mr. President?
Terry, I'm
Just-
sorry.
Just one thing before we adjourn for the night. Being that we are in October, I'd like to see council members, next time we all convene, wear some pink to support survivors of cancer.
Very good.
Breast cancer.
Cancer month is October.
I think we can
And I'm
celebrate.
a
I think we
strong
can honor
advocate
all cancer
Survival.
survivors. All right, I agree. Very nice. Is there anything else for the good of the order? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Tom Giovanni made the motion. For adjourn. There you go, Tom. A shout out to